Hey everybody, on this episode we're going to be taking care of the frame rail rust on my car. I started poking around with a pick hammer and found a lot more rust than I initially thought was there. I'll bring you in and show you what's going on. So as you can see, the front frame rail is pretty well rotted out. This all didn't look that bad until I started hitting it with a pick hammer and yeah, punched through like nothing. So we're going to be doing a patch in here. Patch up front here. Gonna be capping the bottom. Cut out, you can see there's where it's thin. And same on the inside. Basically, all this is gonna be cut out, big plate put in there. I already did the passenger side. So, passenger side was about the same amount of rust. Still gotta weld a fish plate in here just to strengthen that spot. But yeah, what I did is took a 2-inch piece of eighth inch thick steel and plug welded it, as well as welded it to the bottom of the existing frame rail, cut the rust out on the sides, welded these in. This is 12 gauge steel, so it's basically just under an 1/8 inch. And that's what the outside looks like. So here you can see there's plug welds there and there. I put a brace in the back side of this to double it up, give it a little more strength. So yeah, I'll show you the process on the other side. So first what we're gonna do is, I already drilled the spot welds out on this brace here. Gonna peel this back. We'll hit this with a wire wheel, clean it up really good. Probably gonna just cut a square out of here where the rust is, and then we'll cap it from basically this weld all the way down to the back here. That'll give it strength on the bottom, and then we'll cut out the rust on the sides of the frame and weld in the new outer steel. What happens is there's a big U-channel that's welded into these frame rails, and from the factory I don't think they used any kind of rust prevention in between it, so moisture gets in between that U-channel and the outer frame rail and causes this rust, because that's generally where it rusts, is where that brace is inside. So we'll get cutting and see what we got left to work with. So there's a new piece of the lower frame rail section. It's 2-inch wide by 1/8 inch thick, just flat bar. I just bent it over my knee to get the contour so it'll match the existing frame rail. I drilled these holes in it for plug welds to mount to the existing rail. So we'll basically sit up there just like that. Once I get it tacked in place, I can adjust it with a hammer to get a little tighter fit in some spots, but that's the start of the reconstruction. Okay, so I got this bottom rail set in place. What we're gonna do is just tack it in a few spots, and then we'll cut out the ugly rust. I'll get this prepped to cut out with the plasma cutter. What I like to do is take a torch, heat up the rubberized undercoating that's on there. Just use a scraper to take it off. Cleans it up nice. Okay, so cutting this out, we're basically just going to follow the edge all the way around and knock this out, clean all the stuff out from inside, and then we'll cut a template for here out of cardboard to transfer onto the steel, and we'll cut out our new piece. So here's our rear outer patch for the frame rail. What I'm going to do is hit it with some weld through primer on the inside. I just sanded it with 80 grit on a DA. Give it one good coat, let that dry, and then we'll stitch it in. So there's a rear portion of the outer frame rail set in place. The 3 holes there are going to be for plug welds. I'm going to put a brace in this section because I can't do a one piece because of this brace here. So get that all welded in, get the front portion of the outer frame rail done, and then we'll move to the inside of the rail, cut all that out. We'll build the inner brace, get that welded in place, and then we'll cap the inside. There it is, all welded in. Just gonna smooth out the welds on the top there. Next, we'll tackle the front section. So as you can see in these frame rails, they basically all look like this. Didn't look that bad, but there's a few spots where it started hitting with a pick hammer and started punching through. So the rust can be hiding very easily. I was actually surprised how much rust was in these frame rails. I was expecting to do some smaller patches, but basically rebuilt both sides completely now. So we got this front piece all cut out. Gonna grind the edges prep it for the piece we're going to be welding in. What we're going to be doing is building a brace on the inside that'll weld to the outer part of the rail. So I'm going to drill holes in the patch for plug welds. So there's the patch for the front portion of the left frame rail. These holes are the holes for the plug welds for the inner brace I'm going to weld in. And I just spray the inside portion of the frame rail with this weld through primer. Helps to prevent corrosion. Once we get it all buttoned up and the outside painted, I'm going to spray the inside of these rails with fluid film. Try and prevent further rusting. So we'll get welding her in. So we got the front portion of the outside rail welded in. Got it all ground out. So now we're going to cut out the inside portion of the rail where all this nasty rust is. First we've got to get these brake lines and wires and whatnot out of the way. Then we'll cut all this out. Probably going to cut it up to about here. Then we're going to build a brace for the inside of the frame rail to be plug welded on the outside here. So we'll strengthen up this section of the frame rail. So yeah, we'll get to cutting out that inside. So we got the inner rail all cut out. Welded this brace in here. Basically seam welded it on the ends. Tacked it in a few spots on the top and bottom. And then we plug welded it from the back side. So 3 in the back, 3 in the front. So then we sprayed it all with weld through primer on the inside just to give it some corrosion resistance. So I got this piece cut out. We're going to weld that in and that'll basically wrap it up for these front frame rails. So I got both frame rails all welded up now. Everything's nice and solid again. So in here we're going to do these fish plates basically to cover the weld seams, just give it a little more strength. So weld the perimeter of these all the way around. I just put weld through primer on the inside of the plate and the frame rail. And these here are the fish plates themselves. So I just sanded the backside and put some weld through primer on it just to keep it from rusting. Then these will go on the inside and the outside of the frame rail. Here's our final product. So I sanded the frame rails with 80 grit and hit them with some etch primer and then just spray bombed them gloss black. So here's our fish plates welded in. On the outside of the rails and the inside of the rails. So it's all rebuilt. Nice and solid now. But if you got any questions, throw them down in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them. I think that'll wrap it up for this video and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks for watching.